So
What's up?
I have to say that,
Oh
um,
boy, hold on. Okay. Can you
okay.
hear me?
Yes, I can.
Cool. Give me 1 second. Okay. So you can hear me.
Yes.
Is it good quality audio?
It's fine.
Can you hear me louder here?
Yes.
Mic's working, baby.
Nice.
That's about the
We
only good
like
thing that's
Mike.
happened to me.
We like Mike. That's
We
the
do
only good
like
thing that's
Mike.
happened to you. Why?
Okay. Like, so I need to refill a prescription, you see.
Oh, uh-huh.
So I call Walgreens, who's just across the street from me.
Hmm.
They're so close, and this should be easy, right?
Yeah, because they're on the corner of happy and healthy. So that's just right there.
Yeah, when actually in reality they're in the corner of being a dick
Mm,
and an asshole because they're close, you know?
there's a
Yeah.
word for that.
Unfortunately, I call and they have that automated assistant, and
Mhm,
every time I do this, this happens monthly. I
mhm.
say, "Hello, please can I talk to a person?" And they say, "Sure thing. What do you want to talk to them about?" And I say, "I need to refill a prescription." And they say, "Okay, I can help you with that. Just give me the prescription number." And I say, "I don't have the damn number. Please, can I talk to a person?" And
Mhm.
it just starts over again.
And they say, of
Over.
course, you can talk to a
What do you
person
need
as
to
soon
talk
as
to
you
them about?
unlock it with by having the prescription number. Yeah.
I don't know what you want from me. I was so frustrated. I was close to tears. I was on the phone with them for 15 minutes. Just nothing I can do. I'm trapped in this loop. Uh, and then when I finally got through, because apparently they like, why can't I just say let me talk to, why do you even have a phone number anyway? You don't listen to me. When I say please let me talk to a person, I don't mean is there any other way I can do this with you? That means connect me to the phone where another person can access the receiver and I can communicate with them. That's not
Right.
like, I
Yeah.
wasn't, thank you,
Yeah.
but I wasn't looking for suggestions. Like, give
Mhm,
me what I asked for, you
mhm.
know? But after 15 minutes of like fighting in the trenches with the stupid machine, I finally get connected with a person and they say, "You don't have any more refills left. You got to talk to your doctor."
Ugh.
If you'll look at this bottle, that is my prescription. It says 3 refills remain until August 9th, 2024.
Mhm. Yeah. I have noticed that anytime I have a prescription that says I have like three refills, when I go to the pharmacy, they say, no, you don't. So, like, what's up with that? Why do they hate me? Um, yeah.
Why is it so like pointed?
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. No, I like
Yeah.
genuinely I feel I'm so emotional right now. And maybe that's cuz I'm out of my meds.
Hmm.
It's
Interesting.
not, because today's I still have enough for today, but I you see how I need to get them today so that I don't become ill without them.
Right.
So
And you see how you're already on thin ice. I mean, this is a slippery slope. Walgreens.
it's genuinely like hair thin right now. Like I I was so mean to that automated voice.
Hmm.
If there is like a tech revolution and the robots rise up, she's coming for me first. Because and you know what? I'm gonna be ready to meet her. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
bring it on. I've been waiting
yeah.
for this.
Oh, post up Walgreens automated voice. You can't take me.
There's nothing you could do to me that's worse than what you've already done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I don't. don't even know what to do because I just got the notification that my doctor refilled it. And now I'm like, I'm not fighting my way through that like no man's land again.
Yeah, I think you just have to go in person and explain the situation
Yeah, I might.
because that's
I
the only
like
way to guarantee that the first point of contact is a person.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you don't
I
waste 15 minutes of your time trying to explain to the machine
begging
your
on my
plight.
knees, tears in my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
At least if I'm crying to a person, there will be some sympathy instead of sure thing. Just give me the number, her
Hmm.
dumb perky voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Insult
I,
to injury. Yeah.
it's awful. I don't know, like, are there any other pharmacies that are better than this? Because I just went to that one because
I
it's
don't
closest to
know.
my apartment, but like the emotional toll it's taking on me is not worth the convenience.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Might die.
Who can say? What if I guess I'll die.
Anyway, sorry about that. If you had called an hour ago, then I would have been probably in a good mood,
uh,
but I
my bad.
might be violent today. You know what? This is your mom's fault for
Yeah.
needing a ride.
Yeah.
I'm gonna frame you for murder.
Yeah. You're gonna go to jail for 30 years.
Here, take this meal voucher that doesn't work and go fetch.
Yeah.
This looks like one of those sponsored bang TikToks.
I
Just
didn't know they did
conveniently.
those.
I don't.
Hmm.
Or, mm, no,
Uh,
it does. It's remarkable because it really does taste like Skittles,
huh,
and it also
that's good.
makes me feel itchy. So there's a lot of caffeine in here.
Oh yeah, so that's how you know it's the good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna die one day. I'm gonna go talk to God. He's gonna be like, "What in the hell did you do to the body I made for you?"
And why? Yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of
Hmm.
people have a lot to answer for. That's going to be your thing, your main thing to answer for.
Yeah, yeah.
How could you do this to yourself?
You had to have known it wasn't good for you. It made your palms sweaty and your knees weak. It made your
Yeah,
skin itchy.
and you
Why
were
did you
like,
keep doing this?
it's just like the Eminem song, man. What was I supposed to do?
Oh yeah. You
Yeah.
know how we talk about our guardian angels just like sweating
Working
like
overtime.
yeah, this is what it is. Genuinely, I go through a series of 4 or 5 heart attacks a day, caffeine induced, and they're like frantically trying to keep it together, keep it beating at a normal rate. They're giving me like psychic CPR
Yeah.
constantly. Yeah.
Well, should we pick I have a thing, a container I can pick some little papers out of.
Yours is cuter than mine. Mine is just maybe I should paint mine at some point.
Get wrecked.
Haven't I gone through enough today? I like your earring, by the way. I don't know if you have another one in over here.
I do,
Two
it
of
just
them.
points.
He's
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah. Thank
Okay.
you.
Well, let's do the intro first.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Welcome to Women in STEM.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for tuning in. Um, Today we're going to be talking about media effects theory so that I may graduate eventually at some point. And we're going to do like a fun little game with it. We don't know what we're going to talk about today, so we're going to draw it out of our special little container.
Yeah, so Whitney has a container of media effects theories, and I have a container of movies. So she's going to draw out a theory and explain it to me, and then I'm going to draw 1 or 2 movies and see how I can make it apply in that split moment.
And it's actually good that
That's about it.
we had to delay a little bit today because that gave me time to actually do some research into these theories. So I have
Oh,
a bunch of
nice.
notes written down for many of them that I didn't have ready. So if we had done this on time,
Hmm.
I would have had nothing to say whatsoever. I would have said, "This is a theory." And you're like, "What is it?"
You're like,
It's not my job to educate
it's
you,
actually
thankfully.
about the effect of media. So Google is free. Yeah,
Yeah, so
nice. Cool. Well,
um let's
take it
begin.
away.
The uses and gratifications theory. This is a fun one.
Hmm. You've known about this one for minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to draw your movies?
Sure. I mean, sure.
Or we don't have to do that now. You can
Well, you
just
can
draw whenever
just
you feel like.
explain what the theory is.
Sure.
If you, I
Got it
mean,
written.
no pressure. I'll pick two movies while you're explaining.
Okay, fantastic. So basically, the theory of uses and gratifications was developed in the 1940s by two researchers called Katz and Blumler,
Mm,
who kind of
Germans,
created it. Yeah, this is my
typical.
heritage. um, they created it in response to the magic bullet theory that was kind of circulating in the mass communications circles at the time.
That one's about
This
blenders.
okay, was so convinced you were going to talk about JFK. The blender just, I mean, I was so blindsided. But
It's
yeah, that's
me,
also,
blender. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I guess there's three types of magic blenders. This isn't the bullet that killed JFK, nor is it the thing that makes me smoothies in the mornings.
Hmm. A secret
Um,
third magic blender. Oh,
mhm.
thrilling.
It's really exciting. It's also debunked completely, so she's dead. May she rest in peace. But the magic bullet theory is basically the idea that media goes right into the audience and like changes the individual like instantly.
Uh-huh.
Does that make? I'm trying to. Basically, it's that the audience is completely passive and has no critical thought when it comes to media whatsoever. They just
Mm,
intake it, and it becomes they're like, oh sure, I'll integrate that into my belief system,
right.
immediately. But it's not a
Right.
choice. It's just that the media consume
It just happens
automatically
at you.
happens at us and
Okay.
changes viewpoints and our opinions, and that's just not true. So this was a theory. The use and gratifications theory was in response to this idea that these two researchers, Katz and Blumler, looked at that and were like, that's just not true.
Hmm.
There's more complexity here. And so they looked at it a little bit more and decided that media use is determined by goals and needs. So basically, uh, an individual will choose a particular media based on satisfying their particular wants and needs. It's goal oriented.
Hmm.
And because people are in control, it does influence them, but it does so based on like this give and take that they're interact interacting with the media directly. They're
Hmm.
pursuing, whether it be uh looking to learn or looking to interact socially, or uh actually I have a list of like reasons. They gave a list of 8 reasons. Yep, uh-huh.
Yes. A
See, and I just wrote
list.
these down, but I'd already forgotten that. I'm a
Now
mess.
imagine if you were off your meds.
Imagine if I was off my meds and if I didn't have the support of Bic.
Mm.
None of this
Cheers to
would be
you,
possible.
Bic pens.
So basically, Katzenblumler provided a list of 8 reasons that people interact with media, a list of 8 needs that people would need to satisfy. The first is learning, second is companionship,
Okay.
third is arousal, and not necessarily sexual arousal, just
Mm.
like whatever gets you excited. Uh, Relaxation, escape, passing time, social interaction, or out of habit. So
Mhm.
these, I mean, they're super interesting
Interesting. Yeah, there's a
because
lot to
you,
that.
yeah. Do you have any of the 8 that stood out to you?
No.
Great. I'll just go down from the top then.
Nice.
So a lot of these are,
Perfect.
yeah. I mean,
This is
we got
going
time.
so well.
So a lot of these are pretty self-explanatory, right? Like learning, if someone's curious about like the Holocaust, they put on a Holocaust documentary, or if they're curious about I don't know, hydro flasks, they're like, let's, I'll look it up on Wikipedia, and there's a lot of information ready
Mhm.
for them.
Mhm.
Um this one's interesting nowadays because there is so much information at our disposal, and it's becoming more and more difficult to gauge whether that information is accurate, like as accurate as possible. And so that can potentially lead to like an echo chamber of thought of, oh, I learned more about this on this site, and so I'm going to keep looking into like the specific idea and just kind of spiral,
Mhm.
because there is so much information and it's very difficult to narrow it down. And so if you look for pretty much anything, you'll find evidence to support it. And so this can lead to like a lot of negative interactions, but it also has a lot of potential for good, for, just educating yourself, whether it be really, it can just be shallow, but we have access to a lot of information at any given
Right.
moment. Companionship has a lot to do with like specifically like parasocial relationships. We see this a lot with like influencers. People feel like a personal connection. They feel like they know this person, like they're friends with this person.
Mhm.
And in reality, that person doesn't know you and doesn't care about you as a person. Not that they, don't like you or care about you as a fan. Like you and I talk about a lot of YouTubers a lot that we enjoy watching.
Yeah.
Um, and some of them, like Fisher Alexander, we are close personal friends with. We interact on a daily basis.
We go way back.
Yeah. But some, it's
It's
just,
so funny. You could have picked anybody.
I just feel as if we keep saying it, then it will
It
happen.
has to be true. This is manifestation where like you
Exactly.
leave a couple comments on his videos and then just start saying he's my best friend.
And this is
Eventually it
healthy
will be
and
true.
normal.
This is healthy and normal. On the other hand, other parasocial relationships are not healthy and normal. I was watching there was like a Hank Green video that came up in my recommended like yesterday, and he was talking about parasocial relationships from the perspective of the influencer and not the fan. That was really interesting.
I like him. He's
Yeah.
very. You used to hear about John all the time. Like I didn't even know he had a brother. But now I haven't heard from John in years. It's only Hank I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They both
I
seem to be doing great. You know when you have like one
Good.
recommended video and then you watch it and then that's like all that's recommended to you. So I've seen a lot of their
Mhm.
content recently and they seem to be doing very well.
That's
So
good.
that's good.
That's good. I was very excited to hear about his cancer-free prognosis,
Yeah.
because that's a parasocial relationship. I don't know him really, but
Hmm.
and he is completely unaware of me as far as I know. But
But we can never be too sure. He knows a lot of things.
so that's parasocial relationships. They're not
Mhm.
always negative. Sometimes it's good to, it's
Yeah.
obviously
There
too
are
much of
ways.
anything is can
Yeah.
be negative, but
Yeah.
like there are definitely positives to it. Um,
Do you think that AI girlfriends also fall into this category? Real
maybe I
question.
can
Please
pretend
answer.
I'll I'll pretend I didn't hear you, and you can
Sorry.
rethink the question.
Have you heard of AI girlfriend? you think that the need for connection and why we seek media can explain the presence of AI girlfriends?
I actually genuinely think it can.
Elaborate on that.
Okay. Well, the number 7 on the list is social interaction. Usually this means I me and my friends all watch the same show so that we have something to talk about. Or you play video games with a friend remotely.
Right.
That's good. But apparently the need for social connection can result in a
Apparently.
relationship with someone who does not exist.
Huh.
I just I don't know what to say about this. It's sad. It's sad.
Yeah, it is. And and I would never laugh about it because it's too sad.
First, when you brought them up, I thought you were gonna ask if AI girlfriends have parasocial relationships with us. And that was a
That's a question. That is a loaded question.
yeah, philosophers, you're not talking about the right things. Let's get on
Yeah.
this. Are AI girlfriends happy?
Does morality necessitate legality? Sure. Who cares? Every law is morally fine. Let's just say that. Now to the big problems. Yeah, I mean, anyway.
I read an article where a lady like made an AI boyfriend as an experiment, and she's like, I don't even want to talk to a real person anymore. No one's gonna understand me like he is. She was a researcher. She was like an intelligent person.
Yeah.
Like the point of having a relationship is not to find the perfect person. It's learning how to grow and develop together. But
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
not,
yeah.
we don't
Somebody
need
who
to talk about
completely
that.
understands you, like just because of algorithmically they've like figured out what you like and don't like. It's not the same thing as like understanding you, like
Yeah, yeah,
emotionally. Like
yeah.
your AI boyfriend doesn't have empathy for you.
Because of how he's a
He doesn't
machine.
exist.
He's not real.
It's a perfect relationship because we never argue about anything, and also we can never actually hang out because it's not real. There's no physical person connected to this
No.
identity. Like I don't understand what makes that a perfect relationship.
It's like
You don't
it's
want to
just
hold somebody's hand? Like what's your problem?
or like just kind of poke the back of their head until they
Yeah.
get so annoyed. There's
You're
I
like, what are you
mean,
gonna do? Divorce me? Yeah.
there's nothing that gives you more genuine pleasure than annoying someone that you love so
Mhm.
deeply. Like I'll stand by this. I love people, I love my friends, and I love my family. And yeah, I'll do a lot for them. But given the choice to say something sincere and meaningful to them or to throw things at them that stick in their hair until they notice, I mean, that's a God-given gift,
Mhm.
to
It
be able
is.
to annoy another person. And you can't annoy an AI. They're just gonna roll with it. And that's
Yeah.
just sad.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I'm so sorry about this because there's no way for me to formulate any kind of coherent thought today.
Mhm.
It's just there's 1,000 trains running around in my head at 10 times the recommended speed, the regulation speed.
Mhm.
And so none of this is going to make sense. And I apologize to you. And I apologize to anyone who might watch this one.
Um,
I've set myself up for
apology.
failure with this one. It really is tasty, but
Apology not accepted. But this is something we could work through because no relationship is perfect since you're not a robot or an
I'm not.
algorithm
Are
or
you?
whatever. No, I'm not either.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. Um,
Yeah. Anyway, social interaction.
mhm,
That's actually a couple of my friends and I are going to start watching Once Upon a Time together because one of
nice.
them had never seen it, and it was the other night. It was Kennedy has not seen it, and me and Grace were obsessed with it throughout middle school.
Mhm. which is really like the perfect time to be obsessed
Yeah.
with it. But if you missed it in middle school, the second best time is like as an adult, as a young adult.
Yes. The best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. Second best time is
Yeah,
today.
right
Yeah.
now.
We
Right now.
tried to explain it to her.
Ooh.
And I mean,
How did that
it's,
go?
I mean, if you open any conversation with Peter Pan as Rumpelstiltskin's father, who was also the crocodile in the Peter Pan story,
True. Yeah.
and the Beast in Beauty and the Beast, there's just nowhere you can go.
Hmm.
There's already an information overload, like, but that's, you need to explain the context. And
Yeah.
I mean, the family tree is insane. If you start thinking about it too much,
It's like
you
a
know,
basket.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful though.
Hmm.
That's the pleasure of it, is because this show is unhinged. It doesn't make sense, and that's why it's fun.
Hmm.
It just seems really scary.
It's they're exercising their God-given right to be freaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What if Rumpelstiltskin and the mother of the evil stepmother made a baby who was the Wicked Witch of the West from Wizard of Oz? What about that?
Now what if? Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
checkmate, atheists. Or whatever.
Well, question no more, because left for you, Once Upon a Time did this already. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I'm sorry to Kennedy in advance for
For
the things that
ruining
it
your
does.
life.
Yeah, you're never gonna be free of it. Did we do arousal?
No, had only gone through two and then we started talking about AI girlfriends. My bad.
Oh no. You should know better than to bring up AI girlfriends. That'll get me, send me off. Anyway, arousal is anything that like gets you excited, gets you on the edge of your seat. Like I
Mhm.
said, it doesn't have to necessarily be sexual. It's like with horror movies, anything that gets you like your blood pumping and into a heightened emotional state, basically. So it's like
Mhm.
people watch horror movies to get like a little bit of a thrill. On the opposite end is relaxation. People watch them to like, tone down. And actually, I
Chill
have a
out.
fun little diagram that I wrote out and spelled very poorly.
Yay!
Yeah, there it is. There it is. Right there. You see? So
Optimal.
basically, yeah, what we have is we have the optimal level and the set point or the baseline. So the optimal level, everyone is trying to get from their set point to the optimal level, but the optimal level can be above or below the set point. And so people whose optimal level is above their set point, they seek out media to satisfy the need of like, they're seeking sensation, they're seeking that excitement. So it's to get that arousal, to get that thrill. Whereas people
Hmm.
whose optimal level is below their set point, and please ignore the fact that I spelled that STET point
Set point.
for some reason, they're looking to like wind down and relax and kind of, you know,
Hmm.
it's kind of where I am right now. And versus where I would like to be normally, not having it's
100 ounces of caffeinated beverage just coursing
coursing
through
through
your
my
veins at
veins.
lightning speed.
It's awful. It's awful. I don't know why I do this to myself, but I do it frequently. Um, and then we have, similar to relaxation is escape.
Hmm.
It's to rather than to like get yourself to an optimal set point, it's to just escape from that reality entirely.
Hmm.
So that's why people like fantasy and sci-fi, they want to explore that different reality. There's also just passing time. um we've talked about social interaction and just have it.
Hmm.
So,
So
and this
how,
is, go ahead.
I was gonna ask how passing time is a different motivation from habit, but I recognized it as I was about to ask the question.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Habit. And there's a lot of studies that need to be done on, so on like on media addiction,
Hmm.
because it's not really taken as seriously as like a like alcoholism or like a drug habit. It's a lot more common than people realize,
Hmm.
and
Much
it's
like
very
alcoholism.
much like alcoholism. Yeah, very accepted. I
Yeah.
remember reading a study that alcoholism, the threshold for being an alcoholic, is much much lower than people think.
Hmm.
And similarly, having a media addiction is much much lower than people think. The threshold for having media addiction is much much lower than people think.
Right.
Like whether it be social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or whether it's what I do, which is just constantly have something playing on my phone, because heaven forbid I have a thought on my own, you
Hmm.
know? Like I recognize this. It's doesn't go unnoticed. But you know, it's
What can you
it's
do?
there. What can you do? Exactly. What can you
Yeah,
do? Drew
nothing.
Gooden's always going to be there for me. My brain certainly isn't.
Yeah. When nobody
YouTube
else
is
got me, I
reliable.
know Drew Gooden got me. Can I get an amen?
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, breadth versus depth. So as I was saying earlier, with like learning, because we have so much access to so much information, um, people are getting very shallow educations on a very broad variety of subjects, rather than very deep education, deep and meaningful on fewer topics. And that's still, a lot of this is because it's still so new. Consistent access to so much media is still relatively new within the last 30-40 years, even with
Mhm.
movies and television. That's, I mean, really around 100 years old. So for the course of all of human history, for 100 years of it, we have had increased
Such an
access to.
overload of,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's a brand new field of study, this type of mass communication.
Hmm.
And so a lot of this is, and that's why a lot of these theories that we talk about eventually are incomplete or rely on others to be effective theories. And
Hmm.
also several of them have been completely debunked, like the magic bullet theory, because there's no way to make one theory a comprehensive view of how media affects the masses, because it's impossible to analyze an individual based on the masses, and vice versa. Impossible to analyze the masses based on the media uses and effects of an individual. So
Yeah.
inherently there are going to be some contrasting and opposing viewpoints here, but
And this is the point of having like multiple theories. If there was just one thing that we knew to be true, we would never have to study theory in any
yeah.
field, right? But this is like why there's like communications theories and sociological theories and psychological
Mm-hmm.
theories, right? It's like we just can't really take anything as a given because
Yeah.
we haven't been studying it for that long, and there's like always an exception to the rule, and there's always, all these other
Mm-hmm.
things.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's how it is. So
Mhm.
I mean, honestly, a lot of this is going to be a problem for people way down the road. Not my
Yeah.
problem. Actually is my problem, because this is what I'm studying, but
Not my problem. You're like, oh, future generations need to know this. Who cares? I'm not going to be there.
no, I'm not getting a
My
PhD. Are you kidding?
choices will have no effect on the future.
No.
The future isn't real.
That's true.
That one is actually, I do actually believe that one, but
Yep.
we have to behave in with the best evidence that we have is that the future will be real. And so we have to behave in that way.
Whatever. Fine.
Yeah.
Mm,
Cool. Is
yeah.
there any other information that I should know about this theory before I reveal my movies?
Oh, yes. I will talk about the criticism of it. The
Okay.
main criticism of
Yes, I
the
love
theory of uses
criticism.
and gratifications. I know it's so fun. Is the main criticism is that it relies on like self-reporting.
Uh-huh.
So you and also that it assumes that you know actively what needs you're going to be satisfying with the media you consume and
Ah,
thus choose media to satisfy those needs. So you're aware of the why and the what you're doing, and
yeah.
that's not always true. You don't always know, like, oh, I'm going to watch Nope because I am looking to get like excited, and I'm you know
Right,
sometimes you
right,
can
right,
just
right.
think I'm going to watch this movie just because, and maybe you're unintentional, maybe you're like subconsciously fulfilling that need, but are you aware of it? Maybe not. um and the self-report, sometimes people like round up their reports. So it's called social desirability bias. You say what you think they want to hear.
Right.
So if people ask you how much time do you usually spend on social media, you say, "Oh, well, I've been meaning to cut it out a little bit, so I would say, only 2 or 3 hours a day." When in reality, it might be double that. And you honestly like think that you're giving the right answer. You're not intentionally lying to them,
Right,
but you're
right,
giving
right.
the answer that you
That you think is like
know
the
you have the
right
capacity.
answer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That you think is what they want to hear, and that you honestly think that you could be achieving. And so that's what you give the answer rather than an accurate, objective assessment of
Hmm.
like your screen time or the movies that you consume. So that's that's all my notes that I had on this page.
Okay. So that means that's the end. We're done.
That's it. Goodbye.
Thanks everybody for listening. Um, okay. So my question with these movies, I've picked my two.
Okay.
Do we could talk about the motivation that a person could have to watch those movies?
That
And
sounds
then
good to
I
me.
don't know what else. But that's what I thought of.
Yeah. The problem with this theory in particular is that it has more to do with the user.
Hmm.
So it's hard to like, oh yeah, this applies to this movie because of this.
Yeah. Unless it's like a really meta kind of movie where like a person themselves is confronting their own like the needs that they need to be filled. But I don't think
Right.
that they are.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
No game is perfect.
I should have known for yeah to
Yeah.
just sneak a few really psychological heavy films in here so I could draw them out on this episode.
Yeah. But you know what? And this is what I know about both of us is that we're really good at bullshitting our way
This is true.
through talking. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can
and
find you
I'm sure
can
we'll
name
make it
two
work.
topics and I will find a connection between them hand to heart. I'll do it. I played the Wikipedia game. I know how to do it. Um, so this is my first movie, My Neighbor Totoro.
Oh, I actually haven't seen that one.
What?
No, I
I
never
didn't
have.
know that. I've watched a lot. I think you should like it and sometime you should watch it.
I, I should like it. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ridiculous. You can like it or watch it in either order. But you have to do both. Um, I think this one is I guess I can talk about the motivation before I tell you what the second movie is, so that you're on the edge of your seat,
Ooh.
proverbially. You could be literally as well. Um, to me, this is it's one of like some of the things that people like about Studio Ghibli generally is that it feels very like comforting. Like even if you're going on this big like adventure, you know, like if the characters in the story are doing something that's really exciting or high stakes in some way, there's some like something about the movie that really brings people in, that it's like a comfort watch. And I think with this one especially, this is like, I don't know if I want to say that it's like the least high stakes like Miyazaki film, but like maybe because it's not like, I don't know. It's not like Princess Mononoke, which is like deeply violent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of a different vibe, but I think that that would be probably my motivation to watch it, would be like if you're up here and you need to get, you know, settle down a little bit.
Mhm.
I think that's what this one in particular would be, just because of the story of the movie, but also the way that it's presented just really has that feeling. That's what I
No.
think.
The,
I
and
would
the
ask you your opinion, but I know that you have not seen the movie.
I haven't seen that one, but I have seen several other Studio Ghibli films.
Mhm.
Um, and hearing Miyazaki talk about the design of them is really interesting because he talks about specifically inserting scenes of like rest in the movies. So in Spirited Away, there's the train scene where it's
Mhm.
like a long scene, just like 5 solid minutes of silence. They're on the train. There's people getting on and off, and they're
Yeah.
just like, and there's no dialogue. There's no talking. It's just, and you see that theme a lot in his movies where it's designed to have moments of like meditation a little bit. And so
Yeah.
as a viewer, I think that's definitely like a really good assessment of, this is a movie that people would go to for comfort and for rest because it's built into the viewing experience.
Yeah.
And there's not many, especially Western movies, that have that type of storytelling style
Right. Like it's either
to,
a kind of slow contemplative film or a film with a lot of like plot and character development, but you
yeah,
don't see a
yeah.
lot the combination of the two. And I do think he's a master of that. I love that. Yeah, that train scene in Spirited Away is very like immersive, not in the way that you're like so invested in the story. It feels like time isn't real, you know. It feels like
Mm-hmm.
you're very aware of the time that it takes, but it
Yeah.
doesn't make it like boring or pull you out of the movie. It just feels like, oh, I'm sitting on the train right now.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that takes a while. Like to get where
Yeah.
you're going, you can't just like cut scene and get there.
Yeah.
In real life, you have to sit on the train for a little while and take your time.
Yeah. And it kind of romanticizes it a little bit. I mean, and there's like making food, preparing a meal. I think there's one in Howl's Moving Castle, and I haven't seen it in a while, so I don't know 100%. But just sitting there and like preparing food. You see posts all the time about people like, I'm living my best Studio Ghibli life. Like,
Right, right. And what they
yeah,
mean is
you're
like, I'm
romanticizing just
being
your everyday life.
right. I'm
Is
being
yeah, you
intentional
can,
about chopping my vegetables and
or
I'm
sitting on the train and
noticing the beauty in sitting on the train. Yeah. And I think like a
yeah,
lot of that
yeah.
is due to like that's what they want to be in the story. Like that's why they're timing everything this way. I think it also goes to like that's why the art is the way that it is. They pay a lot of attention to detail in like how the grass moves in the wind, you know.
And how the
Um,
liquid.
it's beautiful. And I think Totoro, I know you haven't seen it, but it does have a
Mm-mm.
couple of those like food scenes. There's like one, it's about like two little girls who move into a new house and have an adventure, basically. In in 10 words, that's the movie. But there's like a scene where they go to like the neighbor's house. She's like a
That was 12
grandmother.
words. Sorry.
um, they go to like the neighbor's house, just like this little old lady, and they help her in her garden. Just a full scene of them like picking corn, and the one little girl is like a little bit too small to pull it by herself, so she needs help. Um,
Aww.
I know. Or there's like they live with their dad. There's a scene where he like packs everybody a lunch before they go to school, and like just little moments like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a very probably the reason that it feels less high stakes than the others is that it really gives a lot of time to developing like the setting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a story about like childhood. So you want to spend that time like trying to fill up a bucket and then realizing the bucket has a hole in it.
Yeah.
Or like they have like, yeah, just scenes where they're just taking a bath, making some dinner, they're going out climbing a tree. It feels very much like the adventure of childhood, which when you're grown up, like feels so it seems so small compared to all the like way bigger things that could be going on. But when you're a
Mm-hmm.
kid, it's so like consuming.
Yeah.
Like this is the biggest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that. That
Yeah.
sounds lovely.
I really think you'd like it. I was kind of surprised that you haven't seen it.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I watched Spirited Away at a
Mhm.
very young age in class, and I didn't like it very much. Even still, it's not one of my favorites.
It's
I
kind
know
of
people feel really. I don't love it.
it's a hard one to watch like as your first introduction to this
Mm-hmm.
studio, and it's also like to watch it at like too young of an age or whatever. Like it is one that's kind of controversial. Like people don't really, not because of anything bad that's in it, but just people don't really
Yeah.
connect with it. But I
Yeah.
think that like My Neighbor Totoro is the most like universally beloved.
Yeah. I think if I had watched it as a kid, I would have loved it. And
Yeah,
I think watching
I think
Spirited
so.
Away, and at the time, I hadn't really. Now I can look at it and value like that's a weird story, and good for it, good for
Mhm.
her. Still maybe not my favorite, but I love that her parents turn into pigs. That's a weird story.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like tell that story for 100%. Or Howl's Moving Castle. I love that movie. I really do. I watched so having seen Spirited Away too, I was like, I want nothing to do with this art style. I don't like, a couple of my friends were like obsessed with Studio Ghibli, and I was like, I don't know, that's not for me,
Hmm.
because he just. But yeah, but looking back at it now, I think if I do like my fair share of Studio Ghibli films, and I think I'd really like Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah,
Anyway, that's that
I
on
think
that.
so. That's it on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the one
Oh,
that we
oh,
watched.
oh, oh. Also, I watched. Oh my gosh, I forgot about this. I watched it again in seventh grade in a math class, and as it was playing, there was like it was for like the end of the year, and there was a basket of like a basket of snacks going around circulating the classroom, and I
Hmm.
went in to grab one, and my finger scraped along the bottom, and a splinter of wicker went all the way up my nail, and
No.
I thought I was gonna die. I like so I don't have I didn't it took months for it to come out too, by the way, because we pulled out a little bit of it, but they were like still in there, it's just gonna have to
Right.
grow out. So it took like 6 months for it to fully grow out. But anyway, so that was
Ouch.
another traumatic thing that I think
Yeah, I think
unconsciously
you just got off on
associated.
the wrong foot.
I accidentally
With
tortured
Miyazaki.
myself
Yeah.
while watching
Jeez.
it. So yeah, that was another thing that happened.
That's wild. That's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totoro, this is the only one that we like owned on CD as kids, so we watched it a lot. Um, we also watched Ponyo a lot. I don't know if you've seen
Mm.
that one.
I've seen the ads for that one. It
Hmm.
was at the beginning of one of our other VHS tapes.
Nice.
So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So you're like, I'm familiar. So yeah, those are my thoughts about Totoro. My next movie.
I love the movie.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, baby. What is up?
This
This is
one
a phenomenal one.
to me is kind of similar where it's like there's a lot of depth to the story and there's a lot that can be said about it, but like ultimately it is a story about childhood and finding yourself and like having an adventure. This adventure in The Hunt for the Wilder People is a little bit bigger because it does
Mm-hmm.
take like months of their lives. There's
Yeah.
like a search group out for them. There's like a warrant for the guy's arrest. Like it is pretty big, pretty serious. but it's kind of, I feel like you might watch it for the same reasons, right? Of like, if you're familiar with the movie, you love the movie. So you're like, you just want to kind of settle into something that's familiar, that does have depth and could be challenging, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, especially if you've seen it before and you've kind of had those conversations in your mind before.
Yeah.
This one was we watched it in my film lab a couple semesters ago. And my teacher was explaining, like, the first time they watched it, they showed it at like the International Film Festival. So they showed this movie, and there were a lot of like Maori students and like just other like Polynesian people who had seen it, and they were like, "Yes, they're showing, that's our movie." So like everybody went, and everybody in the theater like watching was just having a blast, like laughing at all the jokes. They're like so invested in the story. They're really engaged in the adventure. And then this was her first time seeing the movie, I think. And so she was like, "This is awesome. Like, that was such a fun movie." And they went out like just laughing, having a great time. So she was like, "Oh, we should watch this for film lab for the other like students." And then, or maybe I think the second time she watched it, it was like with her family or something. I don't know. But anyway, the second time she watched it, it was with a different group of people, and the energy was totally different. And she was like, "This is sad. This movie is heartbreaking in a way that I didn't recognize the first time, because we had this great like sense of community and everybody was coming together, and we were focusing more on like the adventure and the jokes and kind of the lighter aspects of it. But like on a second watch, she was like, "Oh my gosh, this is, are you seeing this? Is this even the same movie? Like, it's so tragic."
It's so sad. And that's the beauty. That's a lot of the use of this series, is that two people can watch the same media for totally different reasons. And because it is,
or even
both.
for
It is sad and it is hilarious.
Yeah.
It exists at the same time. And it's the same, the same person can watch the same media for these different reasons. And
Or
get
even thinking that you have the same reason, but in the end it fills a different need. Where like, I don't know, like it's kind of the same thing with Totoro, where like there's a little bit, there's some sadness to the story, there's some depth there that you don't necessarily consider. I think it's in kind of that space where it's just a really tender like movie about childhood and growing up, and there are so many different ways to interpret that. So it really depends on the person, or even the time of life for the person. Like, if you're watching this and this is the need that you have, then you'll receive like the adventure and the jokes and all this, versus watching it again at another time and you have a different need, even if you don't realize it. Suddenly it hits you in a different way. Not to beat a dead horse, it's like Hamlet.
I was gonna say, I was like, no. I was gonna bring it up, and I was like, let's wait. Let's see what she does. Not an if,
because it has to be said. This is like this is probably one of our top 5 things that we always say. The same person can read Hamlet at 2 different times and essentially be reading a completely different story.
Yeah. Yeah. Every time I've read it, which it's been twice. Both times I've read it has been, the first time it's all about Hamlet. The second time it was all about Ophelia. What's her deal? What's going, and it was, it's fascinating. And this is what I've said certainly in my head for the last 30 seconds. Is that media is just a reflection
I've been saying this
of
for
the
ages.
person watching it. And I have always said this. But it was the same thing with Barbie when it came out a couple months ago. It was, people got so up in arms about it, saying it was anti-men and it was like a woke feminist agenda, all this stuff that you look at it and you're watching the movie and you're like, I don't think so. Objectively looking at it, it was not those things. But people go into it expecting to see ABC, then of course you're going to read into it and get ABC. whether that's
Right.
a helpful or harmful analysis. And that's what I like about media, is that it is subjective. You can get a lot out of it. And sometimes there are criticisms that you hear that I'm like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. Absolutely. That's a good, a
Mhm.
different lens that, because it doesn't align with my world, my life, my experiences, I would not have picked up on. And that's the beauty of getting to discuss it and talk about it, because we get the richness of so many viewpoints and so many
Yeah.
analyses. That's what
And
makes
it's
it
nice
fun.
to, yeah, it's nice to hear something that you had never considered before that
Mm-hmm.
enriches your experience.
Yes. So now every time you think of the thing, you're
For,
like,
yeah, for the
oh,
next
and
time,
now
you're
I
like,
can think of, oh, but what about this? Though my probably the most solid example is watching V for Vendetta
"Mm,
um, for the first time, and just getting something completely different than I did watching it for the second time around, knowing then that it was, I mean, a lot of trans people really connected with it and were like, this is just like my experience. And at first I was like, what are you talking about? Like, there's no way. He's just a guy with a sword. Don't be silly. But then
yeah,
looking at it again, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, totally. I can absolutely see the connection and how you would
right." But
relate
it's
to that,
something
because
that only, it's something that only would have come up if you had had
exactly,
a similar
exactly,
experience.
because I haven't. But now looking at it, then I can say like, oh, but this also then, if A is true, then now B, and then you connect it back to this. And so
Yeah.
yeah, it just makes it more fun, and it provides a way to I connect with viewpoints and lifestyles that you would not otherwise get to. That's the plus side of, everyone gets to have their opinion.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is just you're wrong
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and stupid.
But even those is like if you hear like an opinion that just is like a really bad take for whatever reason, it's important to know like I disagree with this and I have a reason
Why?
for disagreeing with it, right? It's not
Yeah.
just like, oh, I think that person is annoying, so I'm not going to listen to what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I think that this person misinterpreted this aspect of the film that means something completely different to me
Yes,
or to the people who made it. Like it's meant to mean something else.
absolutely. Like with the anti-men sentiments in Barbie, that's
Right.
just not the point of the film. Or one that comes to mind recently is The Fall of the House of Usher. How um I talked about this with you a little while ago. The criticism of it was it lets the main villains off the hook because the cause of like the destruction was supernatural. Verna was a supernatural being, and therefore the harm is like taken from the responsibility is no longer resting
Right.
on the shoulders of the protagonist, and that's just not true. So reading the analysis, I'm like, I see what you thought was going on here, but in reality what happened was that the supernatural being facilitated the actions of the main character to result in ABC. So yeah,
Right.
Verna was a supernatural being, but that does not mean that
They
the narrative was saying this is all Verna's fault. It wasn't. The ending
right,
of the
right, right.
episode very clearly says
They made a deal with the
this is
devil.
exactly. And they could have done anything with it, is the other
Mhm.
thing. She said you're going to have wild financial success and you're never going to be prosecuted by the law,
Mhm.
convicted of a crime. That's the thing. These things are never going to happen. You go crazy with it. They chose to pursue like this wildly unethical career path when
Yeah.
they could have
They could
done
have done
anything
anything.
with it. Yeah.
And
So
they could have just
that
like
is
they could have been never been convicted of a crime because they never really
they never
committed a
needed
major
to be.
crime. Like, but instead they're like,
Yeah.
perfect. I can get away with anything. I'm gonna kill you. Like, dude.
They bricked
Yeah.
someone up
Yeah. Which
alive
is
in a
actually
wall.
like pretty sick.
I mean, the Cask of Amontillado is my favorite Poe story. The second I saw that
Yeah.
jester costume, I knew I was like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I
Yeah.
oh, it was good. It's
So
good.
funny. It was so funny watching it because like he would occasionally like quote Poe, and then I
Yeah,
was like
yeah,
I thought they were like in on it, and then I was like, oh right, this is like a retelling, so they don't know. But then still
yeah.
sometimes I'd be like, you've never heard of Amontillado? Like shut
Yeah.
up. Like these things are happening and you're like, dude, have you ever read
Hello?
this? But then it's like this the point is they exist in this universe where Edgar Allan Poe doesn't exist.
Yeah,
What would
yeah.
make I don't understand the mindset of like because this happened through supernatural forces, it means it's less like significant.
I don't even know if I can
Doesn't
find the
make any
article. I
sense to
could see
me.
if I can find it and send it to you because and genuinely it was just a case of they missed the point.
Uh-huh.
They completely missed the point of it. They thought that the narrative was placing the blame on Verna when it just wasn't.
Oh
It, it,
no.
it wasn't a bad faith interpretation. It wasn't that they intentionally looked at it
And
to
wanted to blame
misunderstand
Verna. They
it.
just like genuinely didn't get it.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So I don't know. It was. I mean, it was one of those like um on those dumb like pop article sites, But I mean, even still,
But it was still
everyone's allowed to have it.
published.
It was published. It was published,
Yeah.
and yet I speak only the truth every single day, and no one has given me like a website to
It's
publish my
completely
opinions on.
ridiculous.
People can publish the wrong opinion. Also, what's his name? The one major famous critic that I hate. What's his
Yeah.
name? That guy
Yeah.
who
Starts with
watched
an
Wait Until
R.
Dark. What?
Starts with an R.
Yeah. Roger.
Yeah. Some Roger something.
Roger
I
last name.
can look it up.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, but keep talking.
He watched Wait Until Dark with Audrey Hepburn and said it was, I mean, cheesy, overacted, very poorly done. And just looking at it now and how it's lasted, I mean, he was objectively wrong about a lot of things, even though he was famously hailed as like he's the most amazing critic. He also said that people like uh Home Alone was a really bad movie that people wouldn't like and it was poorly done and all of these things. So I don't know what point I'm driving at here. I just think he was wrong and
Mhm.
that his opinion shouldn't be valued as much because people like movies and it's okay to like a movie and it's okay to just say like
Right, and it doesn't have to be like the most like intellectual movie with really obvious and profound symbolism to be worth watching.
yeah, and because it does have obvious acting or symbolism that doesn't make it
Doesn't mean
not
that it's
worthwhile.
heavy-handed and not worth watching.
Yeah. So when are you happy, Roger? What pleases you? If you can't have dumb Christmas fun and you can't have Audrey Hepburn fighting for her life in the darkness, like what
Go
pleases you?
home. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Anyway,
Ebert, by the way. It is Roger Ebert. I had to
Ebert.
check.
There we go. Roger Ebert. Yeah. He did like The Mummy.
Yeah, which is odd. It's
Very
something that you
strange.
wouldn't expect him to like based on his other reviews.
Yeah.
But I guess it just goes to show you can't go wrong with the mummy.
That's a fact. Real quick, going back before I forget, Taika Waititi, he
Hmm.
directed Hunt for the Wilder People. I mean, watching his works, he really has a, a, a he's really skilled at connecting the audience with the grief in the film and balancing it out with humor
Hmm.
in a way that doesn't take away from the grief. So in Hunt for the Wilder People, when the ant dies and Doctor from Jurassic Park,
Dr. Alan Grant.
Dr. Alan Grant is like holding her,
Yeah.
and like screaming. Performance of the century, by the way.
Hmm.
I mean, and then the kid is just watching and just like sad, but also not surprised. Like, of course. And
Yeah.
that is sad on its own. Both are equally devastating performances because this is the only person that's ever loved this man and shown him that he was
Yeah.
worth caring for. And
And she's
this kid is
gone.
not surprised by this loss. He's not
Right.
affected by it.
It's something that is so much a part of his life in a way that it really shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
be because he's a child.
Yeah. He should be affected by it. And he's
Yeah.
not. And that's sad. And then the very next scene is the funeral where you have Taika Waititi as the like pastor.
Yeah.
And it's just a dumb scene about like what's behind that door. Jesus. No. You think it would be, but it's
You would
not.
think
It's
it would be, but
another
it's
door.
not. It's another door.
Yeah.
And what's behind that door? Jesus.
Jesus.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it's a completely like meaningless speech. You know that Ricky's not gaining anything from this.
Yeah.
He's not going to become a man of faith because of this beautiful funeral service that carried him through a hard time. He's like, why are we here?
Yeah.
Uncle Heck, why, literally, why are we here right now? You know what I mean? Hector's there just like the saddest man in the world and has to listen to this like stupid vegetables. It's
Yeah.
really interesting
But
to see his work over the years because I think to an extent he's kind of lost that vision, like telling stories about real people and about real grief, you know. It's kind of like it used to be such a like he used to have such a distinct style and a distinct kind of story that he likes to tell. And I think that the one has kind of overtaken the other to the point that like I haven't seen a ton of his like recent stuff, but what I have seen just feels like it's lacking some of that substance. And he's leaning
yeah.
more into like being known for his style, which is great. But maybe not as great as it is when it's mixed with a heart of a story.
It's the kite and the line.
Mm.
You know, you need to have both. Being the kite is fine if you're well known for the kite, but if you don't have the line, then you're just gonna flitter off into the distance. You need to have the line to ground it in
Get
reality.
Stuck in a tree.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gotta have the moment where you care about it. It's the Inigo Montoya effect too. Like
yeah. It is.
you know,
You
my
can
name is Inigo
you can
Montoya.
talk the talk for an hour and 20 minutes. But when you actually get there, it has to matter that you said all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It has to really hit people that this man has been grieving. This man
Yeah.
has been looking for the only semblance of justice that he can imagine.
It's it matters. It
Yeah.
matters. I have a theory. I don't know if it's true. I'm choosing to believe it.
Okay. That's
Because
fine. That's what a theory is.
yeah.
Remember we had that whole thing earlier.
That's so
You're
true.
fine.
His last movie that I watched was Thor 4? Love and Thunder, the stupid one.
Love and Thunder, yeah.
Yeah. And it was so stupid. Like
Yeah.
there's no other description for it. It genuinely one of the worst movies I've seen in a while. I mean, the humor was so over the top and obtuse and like
And not like in
I'm
a
gonna use the word
campy way that you're
disrespectful.
fun to get into. It's just like annoying.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think I'm dumb? Like genuinely, and the thing, this is the thing that gives me this idea, is there's a line he genuinely uses the "oh he's right behind me" isn't he line, and
Which is so cliched. Like it never needs to be said. Maybe at all, definitely now. Like it hasn't needed to be said anymore. Because we all know if somebody's talking and the camera's at a certain angle, you can tell that they're being watched and you don't have to say that.
Yeah. And so that scene, I was like, there's no way. He's got to be doing it on purpose, right? And so in my head, my theory is that he did Thor 3 and everyone liked it so much because of his style and his sense of humor. And that he got locked into doing another one, but then he hated it so much that he's like, I'm gonna ruin it. I'm gonna do the dumbest shit I can, see if I can drag it down. And it so I'm gonna choose to believe that he's still a good director.
Yeah.
And that he did it on purpose. Because I cannot respect the
It's
man.
insane to believe that like Hunt for the Wilder People and Love and Thunder were created by the same person.
Yeah. And so there's the other question is his skill as a director and storyteller diminishing, or is he just giving worse and worse material to work with? Like, yeah, it's hard to have heart and depth of a story in a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
These days, you know,
especially
even though
the
they could have, because a huge part of the plot,
the fourth of the
was
series
Jane has
of
cancer
this
and is dying,
character, which is part of the larger series. Like it's so hard to like it's hard to keep caring. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if there is that like plot line of like an actually serious problem that a person has that a lot of people can relate to, everybody knows somebody who has cancer.
Mm-hmm.
This is a universal truth, and that could be something that really grounded the film and made people relate to it and care about it.
Yeah. And
So,
so it
like,
has
why
to
are
be
we here?
intentional, right? Because we know that he can handle very real and serious topics in a mature and like
Just in a real
comprehensive
way,
way.
where it's like
Yeah.
it's sad and also funny and also awkward. It's like real
Yes.
life.
Yeah. So feel free to take that theory and incorporate it into your belief systems, viewers, because I can't. There's got to be an explanation.
Yeah. It's a
Conspiracy
very
theorists,
it's a very generous theory.
it might like
Yeah.
it might not be true, but please let it be. You're better than this. I know you're better than this.
Brave and hashtag not my Taika.
We were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you.
No, and now look what you've done.
Yeah, but that's that.
That's that. What can we say? That's that.
Yeah. If you haven't seen Hunt for the Wilder People, I recommend it because it's a phenomenal film. It is sad and it is hilarious
Yeah.
and it's beautiful. It also has those moments of just quiet contemplation where you're
Yeah.
just kind of watching them like live in the forest.
Mm-hmm. You see the months go by and the weather
Yeah.
change, and I love some the costuming for the most part is pretty subtle because it's just like real life guys, you know?
Yeah.
But there is like a moment during their montage of being on the run for months where Ricky finds a shoes and a jacket that look like Hex but in a different color. So
Aww.
it's this idea that like he's becoming more like this man who is the only person who cares about him and
Yeah.
is kind of the only adult since Bella that he's respected and that has shown some respect for
The
him.
damn fruit flies back.
Again,
There's only ever one at a time.
that's unusual. Usually with fruit flies, they add up like tribbles. I mean, it's a good movie, you know.
It's really good. Yeah, and Heck also learns from Ricky too, like
Yeah. I
the
think they
haikus
learn
and
to
learning how
have
to
this
process
like,
grief. And that's another
yeah,
beautiful thing is this kid, he has like knowledge. He's had so many terrible experiences, but he is also very emotionally mature for his age. He's like, yeah, no, my friends learned, had to go through this and this and this. And Heck's like horrified. But this
yeah,
kid is just like, yeah, I mean, that's normal. That's
right. Which
life.
is like it's a statement about the like um
Foster care.
the hardship of foster care and the ways
Yeah.
that it um lets down children and families. And it also, I think it shows like we were saying earlier when he's just kind of staring when Bella dies. It could be, he's a kid and he just doesn't know what to do in that situation. Like, how do you comfort this man that doesn't really like you yet?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think it shows like it's not that he doesn't react in a big way because he didn't care about Bella or because this stuff doesn't affect him anymore, but because he knows how to handle it a little
Mm-hmm.
bit better. He's very deeply sad and he decides to run away, which is not emotionally mature,
And fake his own death.
arguably. But yeah, fake his own death and run away, arguably not emotionally mature. On the other hand, he knows what will happen in the foster system if he goes back.
Mm-hmm.
He knows how to process grief in his own way. He loves to read and write poetry.
Yeah.
Like he has some outlet to help him cope with these things. And I think he does like, even though he's a kid, and so his most rational thing to do is fake his own death and run away. He did rationally think about it. He
Yeah.
knows the
Yeah.
stakes. He knows how to handle grief much better than Heck does, and Heck knows how to handle like being an adult and like taking care of yourself
Mm-hmm.
much better than Ricky does.
Yeah. And then they're able to like learn and grow from each other.
Yeah.
Like I
And
love
because
that
they
Heck
need each other, whatever.
like found families, whatever. I don't even really care about it.
Yeah, I
But
mean, ugh.
like the where Heck just Ricky is just so willing to be ridiculous and silly,
Yeah.
without fear of shame, because he's like, whatever, I and
This
that comes
doesn't
from a
matter.
really good
Like, of
stuff.
all the
Yeah.
worries I have in my life, this doesn't matter.
No, so he just shares his silly haikus. He's like, this is what like our counselors told us to, just put it into
Mhm.
poetry, write these things. And Heck is like totally unwilling. He's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. And then
Yeah.
after getting to know this kid and like, growing, becoming a family together, at the end when he like shares that haiku, is like willing to open up and show a side of himself that could be vulnerable and could be laughed at, but trusting that this kid
Isn't gonna laugh at him.
isn't gonna laugh at him. That's
Yeah.
so beautiful to see an adult learning to trust a child, learning how to like
Yeah.
be
How to
a
let go
little
of
bit of a
those
kid
things.
again, and grow as and
And let
it's
go of
just
his
it's beautiful.
insecurities a little bit, right? Because he said, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, Bella loved me because she was a fixer and she was a helper and she was the only person who could see any good in me. So I think he has a lot of insecurity because nobody else saw those things, right? And he doesn't really know how to read. And he's an adult. I think it's embarrassing to have lived to such a big age and then be almost like shown up by a kid who's like, you've never heard of Shakespeare? You've never heard of haiku? And he's like, no, like I haven't. I never wanted to admit that to you. I'm
Yeah,
supposed to be in charge.
yeah, and I like the total lack of judgment from Ricky.
Yeah.
I, he's a wonderful character. He's an adorable kid, just shameless and goofy and
Hmm.
wonderful. Really, oh my gosh, I forgot that the dog dies. That memory just hit me like a freight train. It's
Ah,
a really good movie. You should totally watch it. Like,
right. Well, this is like what I was saying with my teachers. Like the first time you watch it, if you're with the right group, you notice like, oh, look how much they love each other and look how funny they are and his little dances and whatever.
yeah, Skug's life.
And then another time, you might think like, oh my gosh, his like foster mom that he actually really loves dies, and then he runs away and the dog dies, and he has to like travel alone in the cold in the wilderness for months. you know, like it is a very tragic story.
Yeah,
And this is like, yeah, it just hits you in different ways at different times.
yeah, good. It's good.
Mhm. I mean,
Um,
what more can we say, really?
Nothing.
We could do a double feature sometime of Wilder People and Totoro. It has to be
That
a
could
night
be
that you're
fun.
willing to just feel every emotion.
Yeah, cross the broad spectrum.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
both movies, like you have to be willing to feel every emotion at least twice.
What a fun combination.
Yeah.
A double feature. My Neighbor Totoro and Hunt for the Wilder People.
I
And it
think they would
makes
fit pretty well
sense.
together.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't have anything else to say. Do you have anything else to say?
I don't think so. I think I explained those theories pretty well. So,
I would say so as well.
cool.
Go us. um cool. Well, I am gonna go to the gym
Nice.
and see if I
Let out
can.
some aggression.
Yeah, my gym
Cool.
doesn't have a punching bag, which I
Uh,
you know
you'd explode it like rum, so it's probably for the
yeah, I
best.
would. um there was gonna be something else. I don't remember what.
Well,
Oh
okay. Oh well.
well, thanks for listening.
You're welcome.
Well, I'll see you next week.
Yes.
Okay.
Next week, and we can talk about something else.
Woohoo!
Yeah. This game is kind of fun. Like, I know we have so many other plans for like specific movies to talk about, but I
Mhm.
kind of feel like we could just do all these.
It's kind of fun.
You know what I mean? It's been kind of good so far. What can I say?
Yeah, it has been really fun. You know what? We deserve our own network
I
on
think
television.
so. I think we need to get I think our goal by the end of the year should be 1 million subscribers. We should get the plaque, you know? I think we could do it.
Yeah. What happens when that's a group channel? Does the channel just get one, or does each person get one? Like, do
I
we
feel
have to
like it would
share custody
I
of
feel
the
like it would
plaque?
be just for the channel and we'd have to share custody, which eventually would be fine because I think when we have two houses that are next to each other, one of the
Mm-hmm.
rooms that we build in between could be like an office space
I
for
could
both
think
of us, and then it
you
just
know
has
what?
doors to your house and my house.
What I pictured immediately was us still on a Zoom call, just on opposite ends of the desk. So we are in the same room,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. But we just have it set up where like the back this is the back of your computer and this is the back of my computer and we're just
yeah,
facing each other.
exactly.
Yeah. I used to do that with Neil actually for a while. He wanted two desks in his room. So he just put them back to back and he's like, if you ever want to use that desk when I'm not using it, you know,
That's so
it's
funny.
fun. We just hang out across the desk.
Like you're in a cubicle.
Yeah.
He's role playing as an office worker.
He's cubicle core. He has this dream of decorating his bedroom like elementary school classroom. You know, with like the thing that pulls down the projector screen, but it can also be a map of the
Yeah.
world, but it can also be a map of the United States, you know. He already has
And he's got
a
like the
calculator poster.
letters across the top of the
Yeah,
blackboard.
yeah, yeah, like uppercase, lowercase.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He already has a
I have like a
globe and a
does.
calculator poster.
I know that.
So he's
Yeah.
basically halfway there. Yeah.
He needs one of those one of the like punishment boards where it's but because it's just him in the room. It's just his name and he can
Mhm.
move the clip to green, yellow, orange and red.
Oh, right. Yeah. He's like, I've had 3 strikes this week. I'm on thin ice and moves his own. It's like his little picture and name.
On the clothesline.
He should get a Kiva.
What's a kiva?
A Kiva is a type of seating, and it was really common in my growing up. But I have noticed that like a lot of people, it's you either know it or you don't. It's never like, oh, I've heard of that, but we didn't have it in my classroom, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's basically like bleacher seats, but
Mm.
carpet for children.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can like take them apart and move them around the classroom.
Weird.
Yeah.
That would be
Because
good
then
in a bedroom.
when you're doing like story time or something, the teacher can sit in the chair and then everyone sits on the kiva. So you can
Aw.
all see each other and like see the teacher.
Yeah.
There's like a separate space for it.
Yeah, we just sat on the floor. And
Yeah,
one
like
time I sat next to a girl
animals.
who peed her pants.
Mm.
And I put my hand in the puddle. I
On
didn't know that it
purpose.
was nope. Because you know how when you're sitting cross-legged for a while, you hunched over, it gets really uncomfortable, and so you stretch
So
out
you have to
with your hands
stretch
behind you
out.
like that. Yeah.
Mm.
And I was like, why is this wet? I was like, oh, whatever. And then like 20 minutes later, her name is Alana. I still remember because
Nice. Shout out
someone they were like,
Alana.
who peed here? And someone said Whitney was sitting there, and there was like a moment of like, people are gonna think I peed my pants,
Mm.
and I can say I've never peed my pants. I'm ripped to all the
Good
children
for
out there.
you.
I'm better than you.
Good for you.
Specifically to Alana Davidson, I'm better than you.
You're like, yeah, I'm house trained. What about it?
Yeah, yeah.
Dang,
But
that's crazy.
someone else spoke up too. So they were like, no, Alana was sitting in that spot. So I didn't even have to like throw her under the bus.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that'd be awkward. Surely that would throw a wrench in your friendship. But now that you're adults, you can openly say her first and last name.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
What Neil should do is paint one wall of his room with like the chalkboard texture.
Yeah, I think that would be cool.
Mm-hmm. I think if anyone would embrace that, it would be him. I have so much respect for him. He's one of my personal heroes. I don't know if he knows this, but there are days when I'm like, what would Neil do? And
Wow.
there are two different days where it's Neil, my brother, and Neil, your brother.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's always the question to ask. Like whatever situation you're in, there are two wolves inside you and they're both named Neil.
One is spelled EAL.
Um, I think the moments where what both Neils would do line up,
Mm-hmm.
unmatched. You've
Yeah,
reached
that's true.
Nirvana, basically.
Mm-hmm. They're not very similar people, and I
Yeah.
don't know if they would be friends if they interacted.
Hmm.
But I do think that they have such like equal amounts of energy and personality
Yeah.
that they would have nothing but respect for the other person.
I think
It's
that's
like,
true. Yeah.
yeah, it's like we're not so different, you and I, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I am gonna let you go because I have to go fight with a pharmacist.
Okay. Are you gonna work out first so you can like kind of build up your strength and adrenaline and then just take him
I think
out?
I'm gonna go to the pharmacy first
Hmm.
and maybe get myself more worked up than I already am.
Uh-huh. And then you can let it all out. You have a really good workout that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I have so much pent up stress and anger and energy right now. I could kill a man. But instead I'll just do the Stairmaster or something.
Yeah, I'm sprinting on the treadmill. The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City is on the TV right in front of me. I'm just fuming.
You turn it all the way up to 10. You're like,
I
you're gonna
am
run.
screaming at full volume. You're scary
There
mother
are other
patrons.
people in the gym that are like, Real
Yeah,
Housewives,
she not
dude.
alright.
What a show.
I have never in my life watched that show, but I have seen Mike's Mike talk about it,
Yeah.
which is how I think that everybody should consume media. I never watched Dance Moms, but I have
No,
watched
I
Mike's Mike
I
talk about
could
it.
never watch Dance Moms. I think I would get too livid because of how I respect children. I don't think I could do it.
Yeah.
But watching
I
it
mean, I
diluted through the lens of Michael S. Microphone, I can do it. It's okay.
that's doable. And you feel safe with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike's Mike, thanks for being you.
Yeah. I think we should start saying ladies and ladies like he does.
Yeah, that could be good.
Hmm.
I do
Hello,
say, and
ladies and
it's
ladies. Welcome to Women in STEM. I mean, it just flows so nice.
because it is for women.
Hmm.
I do say, and this is, I mean, never on camera. It's just me, like, usually alone in my own apartment. But like,
Hmm.
hello, LGBTs. That's
Yeah.
the funniest thing anyone has ever said. I genuinely,
It's
he's so funny to me. He's so,
hysterical. Have you seen that video? It's not Mike's Mike, it's a completely different person. But
okay.
she's talking about her mom. Her mom was trying to tell her that she was on board for celebrating Pride Month. But she's like, this is your month of Los Gibbities. She's like, Gibbities? She's like, yes, Los Gibbities.
Los
Like, what?
GPDs.
Like, I've never heard this before in my life. And she's like, Mira, you're gay.
Los GPDs.
LGBT became Los
LGBT.
Gibbities.
That's
Los
good.
Gibbities. That's awesome. It's so funny.
Los GPDs. Hell yeah.
Mira, that's you. You're gay.
You're gay.
It's like,
I
I
know.
know.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Well, goodbye.
Goodbye. See you next week.
Okay.
Okay.